Have you ever wondered what you're really truly made of? Well, today, we're going to take a journey to the most complex and microscopic factory in the entire universe, one that's running trillions of times over inside of you right now. We're about to explore the very architecture of life itself, the cell.
So, here's our itinerary. First, we'll get a handle on what this factory of life really is. Then we'll look at the two main blueprints cells are built from. After that, we're taking a full tour of the factory floor, seeing how special models, like plant and animal cells, are different. And finally, we'll zoom all the way out to see how trillions of these tiny factories work together to build, well, you.
All right, let's dive right in with the biggest question of all. What are we actually made of? And no, I'm not talking about stardust, even though that's a pretty cool answer too. I mean on a biological level. What's the single fundamental building block that constructs everything that is you?
That's right, it's the cell. It is the absolute smallest piece of you that can be called alive. It's the tiny engine that runs all the processes that keep you going. From a single lonely bacterium to the massive, bustling civilization of trillions of cells that makes up a human, this is where life begins.
Now, to really wrap our heads around this, we're going to use a simple analogy for our entire trip today. I want you to think of every single cell as its own tiny buzzing factory, a whole city in miniature, with a head office calling the shots, a power plant keeping the lights on, and assembly lines churning out products 24/7.
Of course, just like in the real world, not all factories are built the same way. In the world of biology, there are two main blueprints for how you build a cell.
On one hand, you've got your prokaryotic cells. You can think of these as kind of simple, open-plan workshops. The master blueprints, the DNA, are just kind of floating around in the middle of everything. But then you have eukaryotic cells. These are like massive, high-tech factories with different departments and a secure head office, a nucleus, where the precious DNA blueprints are kept safe and sound.
And looking at them side by side really tells a story. The simpler prokaryotes, like bacteria, are small and super efficient. But eukaryotes, the cells that make up plants, animals, and us, are way bigger and so much more organized. They've got all these different internal departments, which we call organelles, and each one has a very specific job. That level of organization is what allows for the incredible complexity of life we see around us.
All right, hard hats on, everyone. It's time to head inside one of these complex eukaryotic factories. We're going to get a look at how all these different departments work together to keep the whole operation humming along.
Here's what's on our tour schedule. We're going to start at the top, in the head office, where all the big decisions get made. Then we'll check out the power plant that generates all the energy. After that, it's off to the recycling center to see the cleanup crew in action, and we'll finish up on the bustling production line itself.
Okay, our first stop is the most important room in the entire factory. This is the nucleus, the command center of the whole cell.
You see, locked away safely inside this office is the most valuable asset the factory has, its master blueprints, the DNA. The nucleus reads this DNA to issue orders that control literally everything, from daily operations and energy use to massive decisions like when to grow or even when to create a whole new factory. It is the ultimate CEO.
But hey, what good is a CEO in a corner office if the lights are out? Every factory needs power. And in the cell, that all-important job belongs to the mitochondria. You probably heard them called the powerhouses of the cell, and for good reason.
These amazing little organelles are like tiny power plants. They take in fuel, like the sugars from the food you eat, and they convert it into a special, high-energy molecule called ATP. You can think of ATP as the factory's cash. It's the energy currency that pays for every single activity in the cell. Without ATP, everything grinds to a halt.
All right, next up, we're visiting a department that doesn't always get the glory, but is absolutely essential. Let's give it up for the sanitation and recycling crew of the cell, the Lysosomes.
I mean, think about it. A factory that's clogged up with garbage and broken equipment isn't going to be in business for long. That's where lysosomes come in. They're basically these little sacks filled with powerful enzymes that break down all the junk, tear apart old, worn-out parts so they can be recycled, and even destroy foreign invaders. They are the cleanup crew, and without them, the factory would drown in its own waste.
So we've seen the standard factory layout, but what about custom models? Well, that same basic eukaryotic blueprint gets modified for different jobs. And the best examples are the differences between plant and animal cells.
You can spot a few major upgrades in the plant cell model right away. First, they have a rigid outer cell wall for extra support.
kind of like a steel frame. Animal cells trade that for flexibility. Plants also usually have a giant water tank in the middle, called a central vacuole. But the biggest, most game-changing difference is that plant cells have their own on-site, solar-powered food production facility.
And that facility is called the chloroplast. These incredible organelles are basically the cell's own solar panels. They perform a process called photosynthesis, using energy from sunlight to turn carbon dioxide and water into sugar, into food. This is the reason plants don't have to eat. Their little cellular factories make their own fuel right there on the spot.
So far, we've been zoomed way in, looking at just one tiny factory. But the real magic, the part that's almost impossible to believe, is what happens when these factories start working together. So let's zoom out and see how they build something as magnificent as a whole organism.
It's an incredible pyramid of organization. It starts with individual cells getting special jobs. Some become muscle cells, others become nerve cells. Then, these specialized cells team up to form tissues. Tissues work together to create organs, like your heart or your lungs. Those organs then form systems, like your circulatory system. And all of those systems, working in perfect harmony, create a complex organism like you. So how many of these individual factories does it take to build one human being? The number is it's staggering. We're talking trillions. You are a living, breathing community made of trillions of individual cells all cooperating so perfectly that you don't even have to think about it.
And that idea of cooperation is everything. It's the whole principle that takes us from a single microscopic dot to a thinking, feeling person. Specialized cells build tissues, tissues build organs, and organs build the systems that keep us going. It's a system of almost unbelievable complexity, and it's all built from that one simple blueprint. So we'll end on this thought. Your body is this perfectly synchronized economy of trillions upon trillions of factories, each with its own critical departments, all working around the clock. And this brings up a really crucial question, not just for biology, but for our own health. In that vast interconnected system, what happens when just one tiny department in just one of those trillions of cells stops doing its job?